How to wean your loved one off a ventilator and a tracheostomy at home. My name is Patrik Hutzel from intensivecareathome.com, where we provide tailor-made solutions for long-term ventilated adults and children with tracheostomies by providing 24/7 intensive care nursing at home. We also provide intensive care nursing at home for BIPAP and CPAP ventilated clients without a tracheostomy adults and children without ventilation, home TPN, home IV potassium, home IV magnesium, home IV antibiotic infusions, central line, PICC line, Hickman's line, and port management at home, cough assist management at home, ventilation weaning at home, palliative care services at home, as well as nasogastric tube, nasojejunostomy tube, PEG tube, and patch tube management at home. So today I want to talk about a client that inquired to us about whether he could wean his father off the ventilator and the tracheostomy at home. And I want to go into the situation today and work out solutions. So if you have a loved one in intensive care or even at home with mechanical ventilation and tracheostomy, you've probably asked yourself the question, how can we take our loved one home and how can we wean them off ventilation and tracheostomy safely? And in today's blog post, I want to share an insightful call that I had with a client whose father is now at home after a 4-month stay in ICU. The client is looking for help to wean his father off a ventilator at home after repeated setbacks in a hospital. And, the frustration of patients and families, of course, after multiple ventilator weanings have failed is huge because there's no quality of life in an intensive care unit or in a hospital. And of course, the desire to go home is pretty high. So, seeking support to wean a loved one off a ventilator and a tracheostomy at home. So the client reached out because his father, after being on and off the ventilator for months in ICU, is now stable at home. The client knows his father is strong enough to come off the ventilator, but local doctors refuse to help with the weaning process outside of the hospital. For the client, going back to hospital is not an option. Too many errors, too many complications, and from his perspective, not enough safety. And that's where intensive care at home comes in. So, give you a bit of background on the ICU stay and the recovery so far. So, the client's father's story is unfortunately not uncommon. 4 months in ICU, back and forth between ventilator and high flow oxygen. He was weaned off the ventilator 5 times, each time proving he could breathe on his own. Each attempt failed not because of his condition, but because of medical errors, apparently, medical negligence, dehydration, and missed medications. He even got to the point where the tracheostomy tube could have been removed, but setbacks pushed him back onto the ventilator. Finally, after fighting with the hospital, the client managed to bring his father home, even though it was against medical advice. So, how to achieve stability at home? Since being home for 6 weeks, the client's father has really thrived. No more infections, no oxygen requirements with saturations between 96 to 100% on room air. Breathing volumes increased from 250 to 500, often over-breathing the machine and showing strength. Heart rate stable at 65 to 75 beats per minute. Metoprolol reduced from 50 milligrams to 12.5 milligrams daily. His BIPAP settings at the moment are 28/13 with a respiratory rate of 18 guaranteed by the machine. Now, apparently, when this man was in hospital, he was on pressure support ventilation, just with a pressure support of 6. But when he went home, the ICU wanted to be on the very safe side, which is why they increased him to BiPAP on 28 IPAP and 13 EPAP. Now, clearly, the client's father has momentum and strength capable of being weaned successfully if done safely and correctly and with a team of 24/7 critical care nurses at home as per the evidence-based mechanical home ventilation guidelines. Anything less than having 24/7 critical care nurses at home or a situation like that can be deadly, and medical emergencies can happen and patients have died because of no critical care nurses at home 24/7. So, and I've linked to the mechanical home ventilation guidelines in the written version of this blog. So let's look at the weaning challenge. What's the problem? Local doctors only want to wean him in hospital, but for the client and his family, hospital is not an option anymore. They perceive it as too risky and too many mistakes have happened. The reality is, though, the only safe and evidence-based way to wean a ventilated and tracheostomy patient at home is with 24/7 intensive care nursing with CCRNs. Why? Because ventilator weaning at home is not just about turning down the settings. It requires ongoing monitoring of ventilation parameters, expert airway management, including suctioning and tracheostomy care, rapid response in case of deterioration, evidence-based protocols that are proven to work in a home care environment. That's what we are all about here at intensivecareathome.com, where we employ hundreds of years of intensive care nursing and critical care nursing combined in the community. No other provider brings more intellectual property into the community when it comes to intensive care nursing in the community, because that's exactly what we provide here at intensivecareathome.com. So let's look at the evidence and the guidelines. Our service is based on evidence-based mechanical home ventilation guidelines, which you can read once again by clicking on the link in the written version of this blog. These guidelines make it crystal clear home ventilation and tracheostomy and weaning must be done with 24/7 specialist critical care nurses, not with ad hoc care or minimal support. It's the same in an ICU. You wouldn't be weaning a patient off the ventilator and tracheostomy with ad hoc staff, random nursing staff coming in. They need to be trained in ventilation and tracheostomy. It is absolutely critical and life-saving. We have successfully weaned some clients off ventilators and tracheostomies at home by following these guidelines, with families reporting better outcomes, fewer infections, and most importantly, safety, quality of life, and most of all, peace of mind. So why families choose us? Families like this particular client reach out to us because unfortunately they no longer trust the hospital after repeated setbacks. They want their loved one in the safety and dignity of their own home. They want a team of CCRNs around the clock, not just visiting nurses to prevent emergencies and deliver real progress. They also want a team of regular CCRNs at home. They don't want people coming and going like they do in a hospital where it's a transient workforce. They want a team at home that they can select, that we can help them select. And time again, we've shown that ventilator weaning at home is not only possible, but safer, more effective, and more humane, provided it's done the right way. So what are the next steps? For us to put a proper ventilator weaning plan in place, we always request a full hospital discharge summary, ventilator setting, list of medications, any recent progress notes or test results. This ensures we can create a tailor-made, bespoke, evidence-based weaning pathway. The client is in the process of providing these details so we can get started. This story is a powerful example of why families are taking matters into their own hands and demand safe home care alternatives and not a long-term stay in ICU. Now, with intensive care at home, we are currently sending our ICU and critical care nurses into the home 24 hours a day. We are providing the following: home care services for ventilated adults and children with tracheostomies with critical care nurses 24 hours a day. A genuine alternative to a long-term stay in intensive care or long-term acute care, tracheostomy care for clients without ventilation, home care services for patients on non-invasive ventilation such as home BIPAP, home CPAP, home TPN, which is also known as IV nutrition, home IV potassium and home IV magnesium infusions, IV fluids, and IV antibiotics. We are providing central line management, PICC line management, Hickman's line management, as well as port management at home. We're providing nasogastric tube and PICC tube management at home, the use of cough assist machines for our clients for airway clearance at home, palliative care services at home, as well as ventilator weaning at home. We're also sending our critical care nurses into the home for emergency department bypass services. We have done so successfully as part of the Western Sydney Local Area Health District, their In Touch program, saving approximately $2,000 per patient that we keep at home instead of them going to an emergency department. That also means we're in a position to cut the cost of an intensive care bed by around 50%. An intensive care bed costs between $5,000 to $6,000 per bed day. Our service costs between $2,500 to $3,000 per bed day, and we're freeing up the most sought after bed in the hospital, which is the ICU bed. Most importantly, we're improving the quality of life for patients and their families, which is a win-win situation for all stakeholders. Of course, quality of life is much improved surrounded by families and by a team of dedicated intensive care nurses in the home care setting instead of in an intensive care unit. With intensive care at home, we are currently operating all around Australia in all major capital cities as well as in all regional and rural areas. We work with NDIS clients all around Australia, TAC and WorkSafe in Victoria, Department of Veteran Affairs all around Australia. Our clients and we as a service provider have also received funding through public hospitals, private health funds, as well as departments of health. We are having policies and procedures for intensive care at home nursing, and we've built all the intellectual property for intensive care at home since 2012. No other provider in Australia has created more intellectual property when it comes to intensive care at home nursing than we have. This puts us in a position to employ hundreds of years of critical care nursing experience combined in the community. No other service provider in 2025 employs a higher skill level in the community than we do, which enables us to look after the highest acuity adults and children in the community in Australia safely. So if you're at home already and if you're watching this or you're stuck in an ICU long term, or if you're going to hospital and ED all the time and you realize that you don't have the right level of support at home, or if you are stuck in an ICU, I'll give you a real world example today how we can help you. One of our first clients when we first got started in 2012 was a client who was at home initially on a ventilator with a tracheostomy with a support worker model 24/7. Of course, support workers are not equipped to look after a client at home on a ventilator with a tracheostomy. That is dangerous and it's simply negligent. Having support workers looking after a client at home on a ventilator with a tracheostomy is like flying the airplane with a cabin crew instead of the pilot, because anyone on a ventilator with a tracheostomy is at very high risk of medical emergencies 24/7, or even at high risk of dying if they don't have a team of dedicated critical care nurses looking after them 24/7 at home. This is actually evidence-based and is documented in our mechanical home ventilation guidelines that you can find on our website at intensivecarehome.com. Think about it. In an intensive care unit in a hospital, you wouldn't have support workers looking after your critically ill loved one or after any critically ill patient on a ventilator with a tracheostomy. So why would anyone in their right mind do that in a home care environment in the community? So this client at the time found out about us eventually, and the ICU that he was basically living in also knew about us and eventually reached out to us. And we were proving our concept with this client very fast. When we worked with this particular client, we sent him critical care nurses 24 hours a day, and he never ever went back into ICU ever again as long as we were working with this client. We can do the same for you if you're not safe at home and help you with keeping you at home predictably. Otherwise, we would not be in business. Again, the same is applicable for those stuck in an ICU, similar to this case study that I've just given you. Or if you're going back to ED all the time, please reach out to us. We can help you with taking you through the right steps, including how to get funding with different funding bodies. This is also why we are providing NDIS support coordination. We have a team of NDIS support coordinators, and they have a wealth of knowledge. I've done an interview with Amanda Richards, one of our NDIS support coordinators, and I'll put a link to an interview with Amanda in the written version of this blog. We're also providing TAC case management and WorkSafe case management in Victoria with Lucy McCodder. If you're an NDIS support coordinator or a case manager from another organization watching this and you're looking for nursing care for your participants, please reach out to us as well. If you need more evidence for nursing care, we are also writing NDIS nursing assessments with legal nurse, critical care consulting nurses. If you are a critical care nurse and you're looking for a career change and you want to join a very progressive, dynamic, and high-performing team of critical care nurses in the community, we're employing hundreds of years of critical care nursing experience combined. You can join this high-performing team if you are a critical care nurse. If you are looking for a career change as a critical care nurse, we're currently hiring for jobs for critical care nurses in Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, in Albury, Wodonga, in Bendigo, in Geelong, in Warragul, in Victoria. If you have worked in critical care nursing for a minimum of 2 years, pediatric ICU, ED, and you have already completed a postgraduate critical care nursing qualification, we will be delighted hearing from you. I do have a disclaimer though, because we are offering a tailor-made solution for our clients, which includes regular staff. Our clients also do want the same staff coming over and over again because they are so vulnerable and so special. That's why we need regular staff. So if you're looking for agency work where you can come and go, this will not be the right fit for you. We are looking for consistency and our clients are looking for consistency. So please only apply with us if you can give us regular and consistent availabilities for shifts and you're really keen on building solid relationships with us and with our clients. If you're an intensive care specialist or an ED specialist, we also want to hear from you. We're currently expanding our medical team as well. We can also help you eliminate your bed blocks in your ICU and in your ED for your long-term patients or for your regularly readmitting patients with our critical care nursing team at home. We're here to help you take the pressure off your ICU and ED beds, and in most cases, you won't even pay for it. Even if you do pay for it, it is so much more cost-effective than what you're paying for in ICU and ED, and you get the same level of care. And if you're a hospital executive watching this and you have bed blocks in your ICU, ED, and respiratory wards, or for home TPN, please reach out to us as well. We can help you eliminate your bed blocks very fast. If you're in the US and in the UK, and you're watching this and you need help, we want to hear from you as well. We can help you there privately with one-on-one consulting and with hiring nurses privately. Once again, our website is intensivecareathome.com. Call us on one of the numbers on the top of our website or simply send us an email to info@intensivecareathome.com. And if you like my videos, subscribe to my YouTube channel for regular updates for families with intensive care at home and intensive care. Click the like button, click the notification bell, share this video with your friends and families, and comment below what you want to see next or what questions and insights you have from this video. Thank you so much for watching. This is Patrik Hutzel from intensivecareathome.com, and I will talk to you in a few days. Take care for now.